Let me guess something about you. You feel stuck and bored in your current role. You wake up every morning, open your laptop, and you already know exactly what the day will look like. The same tasks, the same routines, the same predictable outcomes. No challenge, no growth, no excitement, no movement. And you keep telling yourself, I know I can do more. I should be doing more. Why does no one else see it? You feel like you're not learning, you feel like you're not progressing, and you're starting to wonder whether your career is quietly passing you by while you're stuck doing the work that you mastered 2 years ago. And when the recognition doesn't come, when the promotion doesn't come, when other people get picked before you, something inside you begins to hurt. Because deep down you know you're capable of more, but nothing around you seems to change. Today I'm going to show you how to change that. Not by switching jobs, not by starting over, but by turning your current role into a leverage machine that accelerates your career from the inside. So let's talk about exactly how to do that. Every career reaches a point where the work stops stretching you. You learned everything you needed to learn. You became efficient, you became reliable, and then you stop growing. And that's when it becomes dangerous, because boredom doesn't show up as boredom. It shows up as exhaustion. It shows up as Sunday anxiety. It shows up as frustration that you can't even articulate. And worst of all, it starts showing up as self-doubt. You start coming to work physically, but mentally you're somewhere else. You dread Mondays, you start losing drive, and then you start making small mistakes that you never used to make. And suddenly you think the problem is you, and you're losing your edge or your talent or your discipline. But you are not the problem. You are just in a role that is no longer giving you room to expand. That's natural. You've outgrown the version of yourself who started this job, and your work hasn't caught up yet. That's fine. People don't get stuck because they lack potential. They get stuck because the role around them no longer evolves. And if you don't learn how to evolve it yourself, you stay trapped. Here's someone no one told you when you started your career. You can be the hardest worker in the room and still be completely invisible. You can work long hours and still not move forward. You can become the go-to person for execution and still be overlooked for growth. Why? Because doing tasks, even doing them perfectly, doesn't build leverage. It only proves you are good at doing, not that you are ready for more. The missing piece is this: you're not paid for tasks, you're paid for value. And right now, the reason you feel stuck is simple. Your current role isn't structured to show that value. Not to your boss, not to the company, not to even to yourself. So let's change that. There is a principle I teach in every course, and once you understand it, you'll never look at your career the same way again. Your career is a product and you are the CEO. Think about any real product. If it doesn't innovate, if it doesn't improve, if it doesn't evolve, it gets pushed to the back of the shelf. It doesn't matter how good it used to be. If it stops growing, it stops winning, period. And that's how most professionals get stuck, not because they are bad, but because their product, meaning the value they deliver, is not evolving. And this is where Phoenix Career Equation becomes your map. This equation is everything. The problems you solve, meaning how difficult, strategic, and important they are. Time, how long does it take you to solve them? Your style, the way you communicate, collaborate, simplify, influence, and drive the results. And finally, your promotion, the way others see, understand, and respect your value. Every opportunity you get, every raise, every promotion, every role is simply a reflection of this equation. And today I'm going to show you how to rebuild this equation from inside your current job. The first step to building leverage is stopping the obsession with tasks and shifting it to problems. Tasks don't grow your career, problems do. So I want you to pause and ask yourself something that most people never do. What problems do I actually solve? Not the tasks that you do, not the files that you create, not the systems behind the use of those files, but the impact behind your work. Because the moment you stop identifying with tasks and start identifying with problems, your entire relationship with your job changes. You stop thinking like an employee doing assignments. You start thinking like a strategist creating a value. And when you do that, something opens up. you start seeing opportunities, you start seeing inefficiencies, you start seeing what's missing and how you could fill those gaps. Your unique value proposition becomes your anchor. Why you exist in the team, what you solve, how you do it, and what value it creates. And once you know this, you'll never feel like a task robot again, irrespective of the role that you are in. Now let's talk about one of the most powerful tools to redesign roles, the one that top performers use without even realizing it. Eliminate, delegate, automate. When you're stuck in execution, your time gets consumed by work that creates zero leverage. And the more you try to work harder, the deeper that hole gets. So we redesign your role. We strip away what no longer serves you. We remove everything that drains value instead of creating it. And we rebuild your time around the activities that move your career forward. You start by eliminating everything that's outdated, unused, or unnecessary. You'd be shocked how many legacy tasks no one cares about anymore, but you keep doing simply because they were handed down to you. Then you delegate, not to dump work on others, but to place tasks where they fit best. Delegation is one of the most strategic tools in your career because it frees your time for higher value work. And finally, automate. It doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes automation is a better template. Sometimes it's a dashboard, sometimes a script, a note, a shortcut that saves you hours every month. When you apply EDA properly, something magical happens. You reclaim your time. Time you can now reinvest strategically instead of reactively. And that's where the leverage begins. And here's the part that most people miss. Freeing up time is not the win. What you do with that time is the win. And this is where the top performers separate themselves from everyone else. Once you reclaim hours through elimination, delegation, and automation, you reinvest those hours into things that expand your value. You start improving your role instead of repeating it. You start taking on cross-functional projects that expose you to new problems and new people. You start learning skills that bring you up the career equation, solving harder problems faster with better style. This is where your career stops being flat and it starts growing, starts becoming exponential, because every project that you improve, every system that you build, every cross-functional relationship that you create, every skill you deepen expands your visibility, your influence, your opportunities, and ultimately your leverage. This is how the people you admire got ahead, not by switching jobs endlessly, but by redesigning their role from the inside out. Before we move further, we need to zoom in on something absolutely foundational, because freeing up time is not enough, and taking on more projects is not enough. If you want to create real leverage, the kind that changes the entire trajectory of your career, you must understand what you are actually trying to improve. And this is where the product pyramid enters the picture. It helps you reinvest your time and your money strategically in the right places in order to elevate the value that you deliver. This is how to climb from basic execution all the way up to influence and leadership. So let's break it down. The foundation, problem solving, this is the base layer, is where everyone starts and where most people unfortunately get stuck for years. Because this is where the technical work lives. The checklist, the reports, the dashboards, the functional knowledge that your job requires. Don't get me wrong, the foundation matters, it's critical. You must know your craft, but you must understand the systems, processes, the tools. You must be able to solve the problems assigned to you without someone holding your hand. But here is the dangerous trap. Technical skill is only the entry ticket, it's not the game. There are three components to this foundational level. Technical skill, the raw functional expertise, and yes, this includes the tech savviness and business literacy, not just your job-specific tasks, but we talked about that already. Execution, your personal effectiveness, not just getting things done, but how fast you do it and how you organize yourself, how you automate, how you reduce complexity, and how reliably you deliver. This is where problem divided by time is your personal effectiveness in the career equation, and this is where it's starting to shape. Finally, mental strength, your resilience, self-awareness, ability to handle pressure, your ownership and accountability. This determines how long you can keep solving bigger problems without burning out. And trust me, the higher you go, the heavier the weight gets. When people say I'm stuck, when they say I'm bored, when they say nothing is moving, 90% of the time it's because they are trapped in this foundational layer, doing the same problems over and over again, never breaking into the next layer, never improving, just stuck in the execution. And if the foundation is what you do, the middle layer is how you do it with others. This is your style in the career equation, and it's the layer that starts to separate you from everyone who looks technically the same. Here is what collaboration actually means in practice. It's the skill of working with other humans, getting things done through alignment, not force, translating your expertise so others can use it, contributing in a way that elevates the room instead of just completing tasks in the corner. Collaboration has two big components. First one is communication. And no, it's not just public speaking. This is how clearly you explain things, how simply you turn complexity into something your manager or stakeholders can understand, how well you tell the story behind your insight, how you present data so it drives decisions, how you speak so people listen. If you master communication, suddenly the same insights you've always had start to look 10 times more valuable because now people understand them. Second one is business partnership, your ability to connect your work to the work of others. This is where emotional intelligence, empathy, conflict resolution, and stakeholders' engagement come in. It's the willingness to reach beyond your job descriptions and think cross-functionally. It's understanding how your work affects sales, product, operations, finance, HR, all other functions, and collaborating to solve shared problems instead of isolated ones. This layer is massively undervalued and massively differentiating because most people don't know how to work with other people. If you do, your perceived value skyrockets without needing a new job title. You almost from day one change the way people see you. Now we reach the top of the pyramid, the level that completely changes everything. Leadership here doesn't mean manager, it means influence. It means your ability to shape direction, guide decisions, drive clarity, coordinate effort, see that bigger picture before others do. And above all, rally people around solutions. This layer has three parts. First, influence, getting things done through people who don't report to you. This is where you stop being measured by your individual output and you start being measured by your ability to mobilize others. Second, team development, not in the HR sense, but in the human sense. Helping people grow, mentoring peers, guiding juniors, elevating discussions even without formal authority. Your presence amplifies the value that your team generates. Finally, strategy and management, how you think about the problems at scale, how you understand trade-offs, how you maintain systems instead of fixing tasks, how you see around corners and anticipate risks, how you stop reacting and start designing. This layer is the style multiplier in the career equation at its highest power. The version that makes price increase exponentially when you add the promotion component on top. Because once you enter this layer, you're no longer replaceable. You are no longer just a worker. You become the person who shapes the outcomes. Why this pyramid matters so much? Because this is what determines your value, not hours, not effort, not sacrifice. The more layers you climb, the tougher the problems you solve. The faster you solve them, the better your style becomes. The more people you elevate, the clearer your impact becomes. The more trust you earn. And when you add the promotion multiplier on top of all of this, your value just skyrockets. This is the architecture behind every high-performance career. This is how you build leverage. This is how you get unstuck. This is how you turn your current role into a launchpad for every future opportunity. Once you understand how this works, you can't unsee it. The highest performance in every company follow the same rhythm. They audit their role, they simplify it, they streamline it, they free up time. Then they take that time and reinvest it into projects, cross-functional exposure and skill development. And then they get rewarded with opportunities, trust, influence, promotions. And then they do it again and again and again. It's a compounding cycle that turns ordinary roles into extraordinary careers. And you can start this cycle today. Here is how you begin right now, today, without changing jobs. You define the value you actually deliver, not the tasks that you do. You audit your role and remove everything that no longer supports that value. You free up time by eliminating, delegating, and automating. You take that time and reinvest it into improving your function, joining cross-functional projects, and learning how to solve more valuable problems. And you repeat the process every quarter. This is how careers stop stalling. This is how professionals stop being invisible. This is how you transform your current job without needing to escape. When you do this, something incredible happens. You start feeling alive again. You start learning again. You start seeing possibilities again. Your work stops being a prison and becomes a playground for growth. People notice you, opportunities show up, your manager trusts you more, your reputation grows, your confidence returns, your career finally feels like it's moving again. And yes, eventually the promotion comes, not by accident, not by luck, but because you design it. This is how you build career leverage without changing jobs. This is how you reclaim your momentum. This is how you get unstuck permanently. And if you want the system to implement everything I just shared with templates, trackers, dashboards, and the exact process, check out my free Phoenix Masterclass. You will get the full guidebook and toolkit to make this real in your life. The link is in the description. And remember, your career is too important to leave it to chance. You don't need a new job, you need a new strategy. And now you can get one.